Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Exploring Reality, and thanks for coming to watch kind of a different live stream compared to what you're probably used to, where we're going to talk about a few different things here and try to be a little transparent with you guys. And while we're waiting on people to kind of get in here, Tim, why don't you kind of just, people know who you are probably, but on the off chance they don't, just kind of let them know who you are and why you're here too, I guess, specifically for this topic.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, bro. Yeah, Evoking Theism. My name is Tim. I similar to fans. My main is on the areas in the philosophy of religion, mainly natural theology for God, things of the and science, answering focusing on those kind of arguments. Some things I'm going to be putting out here are just going to be some guides to what I think is going to be very strong natural theology, a very good way to ground theistic beliefs.
Hey, Tim.
Yeah.
People are saying you're still having mic issues, and they just started for me again too.
Oh, for real? Oh, let me see.
Yeah. Okay. Well, while you're trying to figure that out, yeah, everybody's saying you sound like glitchy and choppy. Slam RN. This is a new phrase. Choopy. I like that though. While you're figuring that out, yeah.
Okay. What about?
Say it again.
Am I good now?
Yeah, you're great. Well, so hopefully that
It
stays
just
frequent.
stays.
And James from Infilosopher's Garb, if you guys aren't following him, please do. But yeah, that's exactly why we're actually going to talk about. Tim and I are starting an OnlyFans.
Yeah.
All right,
We're gonna put in
Tim,
that work with an E.
start over and introduce yourself without the glitchiness or the glitchiness.
All right. Yeah. Let me know if I glitch out again. If the glitch comes back, then I know I have a disease. So basically, my channel is very similar to fans. Invoking Theism. The main all my videos center around just grounding theistic belief in a very rational way. So it's going to concern philosophy of religion, natural theology, science, philosophy of science, epistemology, all that good stuff from a very nuanced perspective. It adds a different kind of way to look at a lot of things. I've been doing a lot of stuff on evil and my perspectives on evil and how one can navigate that as a theist. And the whole idea is to get you more confident in doing that. What was really cool about what Fan are doing right now is this is what I'm doing currently, but what you and I are going to get to talking about is going to expand upon exactly what we're going to want to be doing for the future. So I'm really excited to talk about it.
Yeah, and so I'll just kind of start things off here. Like, if you guys did not see the community post, here, let me just do this quick.
Someone wants you hit the glute spread.
Oh, wow. Okay. So can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, go. So let me just pull up my channel here. Community. So I put up a community post. So if you guys want to come read that, go read that. You can. But this is basically something that I typed out earlier today. Just kind of explain what's going on, how I'm feeling, all this other stuff. And basically, the main idea, at least for me, and I hate emotions, so this is like tough. But like, I don't know. I've just, for me, the last few months, it's been really heavy on my mind. I've just been feeling a little discouraged because, in my personal life, I hear people constantly telling me like, "Than, you work too much. We're really worried about you. You're constantly working. Yada yada yada." Um, and I've been trying to like figure out what the heck is going on. And one of the reasons I'm starting to feel a little discouraged is because I feel like I'm putting in a lot of work into like the academic level stuff. And on top of that, in the backdrop, the stuff that you guys don't see is that I spend about 15 to 20 hours a week working with people and having doubts or skeptics that are like trying to actually have a real discussion and wrestle through some questions that they have. And I've been doing a lot of this work really hard, and I feel like the channel's just like not growing fast enough. And I also feel like this model of putting out content and hoping everybody finds it valuable enough to invest in it, because I'm not charging for anything that I do. That includes speaking events. Like I don't charge a speaking fee. I have 3 speaking events in the next few months, and I'm not charging anything. That's not like a humble brag or anything like that. That's like I just have a strong conviction personally that I don't want finances to be a roadblock to anybody that needs the kind of content that Tim and I are putting out. Um, so yeah, feeling a little discouraged, and I want the channel to grow more, but it's like I've kind of come to the realization that it's not going to grow that fast if all I do is this high level content. That's 30 minutes of just scholarly stuff. Um, One of the other realizations that I had was that, and Tim, I think you and I talked about this, was like, if I just left out the rhetoric, if I just did not do the clickbait titles, if I didn't do the clickbait thumbnails, it was all just matter of fact, academic level stuff, like that, maybe that might make a difference with online skeptics and they'll start taking some of the stuff seriously. And um, I've seen that happen in some cases, but for the most part, it's the same thing over again. And the kind of like marketing, I guess, that I've been trying to do is not working. Um, Tim, do you want to add anything onto that, or do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, man. Yeah, just pretty much just to echo everything you're saying. I don't think anyone's really ignorant towards the fact that there's a lot of niches and ways that people brand themselves on YouTube, either that be Instagram, either that be TikTok, who aren't doing as much as you, who aren't doing the high level work as you, who are more, for lack of a better term, not as educated as you in the matters concerning everything that you study, but who get views hand over fist, who get monetary gain or financial gain based off of how they are marketing hand over fist, right? And it's not necessarily that they're more equipped than you. It's not necessarily that they are smarter than you. It's just a matter of fact that the the intersection between what's discussed amongst the academics and then what's discussed amongst what you could call your average person, as far as how the algorithmic systems work online currently, needs to be adjusted in such a way for your input to have a one-to-one correspondence with for your output to have a one-to-one correspondence with your input, right? And that's just a recognition. We're seeing that this we're seeing it with Capturing Christianity, and you and I discussed then that he's also seeing this hit happen on his channel. These long form content. We know that for a while, the past 3 years, that long form content really isn't going to be biased as much on these platforms. People's attention spans are lower than ever, and as the generations after us proceed, that's just going to be the case. And so the shorter form content, not long form interviews anymore in channels. A lot of these things are no longer at being as successful as they once were. There's a certain ways of doing things that are simply, we just have to recognize, that are outdated or outmoded.
Yeah.
By the way that things are working now. So we see it every day, right? Like the way that shorts and reels and TikToks work is you have, people talking at a very fast pace. There's jump cuts every 3 seconds, and the video may be 20 seconds long, and it could have a lot of views compared to something that you would spend a lot of time doing. It's not going to do the same thing. It's going to be on something much more accessible than what you're doing. So it's that's just what we're doing. We're just recognizing the way that things are. So
yeah. And so at this point, some of you might just be like, okay, well, so what does that mean for the long form, like high level content that you have fallen in love with? And first thing I want to assure you guys of is that I'm not planning on taking that away. I'm at least planning on keeping that. But the things that I'm thinking about adding into my pipeline of videos are the things that I want to talk to you guys about. Because I've always known exactly what I needed to do to grow a channel fast and relatively fast. It's just I've never
Mhm.
wanted to do those things because I one don't I don't want to compromise like the academic integrity of what I do or of what we do. I think I can speak for Tim for most of this stuff. And if you want me to if you want to rescind something I say, Tim, just cut me off. But well, yeah, one is not to compromise the academic integrity of what I try to do here, and two, um, I don't want to look like a sellout. Like like you know what I'm saying, Tim? Like I
Mhm.
I really do value the way that you guys view what I do and how I do it and all that stuff. And on top of that too, I really value the ethics of what I'm doing too. Like I want to do this in an ethical way and all this other stuff. So the long form, at least on my end, is not going to go away. But what I do want to talk to you guys about is the fact that there's going to be included now like shorts. There's going to be content that's not high level, and you're probably going to see some thumbnails and titles that are a little bit more like YouTubey. So, like for instance, if I share my screen again, um, here's my first case. This video right here versus Jesus versus the demon at Capernaum.
Hold on, I can't see anything.
You can't.
No, it's just the background.
Hold on. Let's try this again. All right. You seeing that now?
Perfect.
Okay. So this video right here, first of all, where Jesus versus the demon at Capernaum, context proves Jesus is God, right? Look at how well this video did compared to everything else where I'm just more matter of fact, you know, just whatever. The inside of the content itself inside this video is the same level of content as this last one and the one before that and the one before that. And the only thing that's different is the title and the thumbnail. Now, a difference in content is this guy right here. I just posted this 3 hours ago. Little clickbaity title, and I decided not to go too clickbaity on the thumbnail. And I used a picture of Mike Kaiser because he's kind of the guy that influenced a lot of the things I want to say in here. And it's just like, it's a really basic, like pop level introduction to how to read your Bible that most of you guys might not need to listen to, but it's going to appeal to a wider audience. Um, so like one of the things I'm kind of like concerned about, and I want to get your guys' feedback on is like, how did you guys feel when you saw the last two videos compared to what you've seen in the past? Like, how did you feel when you saw that clickbaity title? And how do you feel if you've watched the new video I just posted a few hours ago? How did you feel about the fact that that came out? Um, and when instead of like a more like long form academic style thing, like just kind of put something in the um in a chat there for that. Um, ND Gone Wild says the most recent video was good, so that's helpful to know. Slam RN says you've only put out 154 videos. Sometimes it takes time for people to find you, and I think Tim and I both acknowledge that. We're not sitting here like saying like, oh, we've been on YouTube for 3 years when we're not at 100K. That's not where I'm coming from at all. Where I'm coming from personally is, well, let me put it this way. Where I'm coming from is I feel like I need to make changes and grow the channel a little bit faster in order to make doing this full time a lot more sustainable. Um, because I don't know,
Yeah.
I like on a personal level because I'm a father and I'm a father and I'm a father of three young boys and I'm a husband. Um, exploring reality takes bare minimum about 40 to 45 hours a week out of my week, and then I work a bunch of side jobs on the top of that to make ends meet. And then, like I said in the community post, I don't want to badger you guys to become supporters or anything like that. Um, so, and I want you guys to be part of this as well, right? So, Andy Gunwell says like responding to people really attracts viewers, and I'm gonna actually start doing some more response videos as well. The reason why that I haven't done many response videos, and maybe Tim, you might feel this too, is the majority of the stuff that people send me to respond to, I felt like was not very worthy of response. Like most of the stuff was like really like 10 years ago, new atheist stuff, right? Um, or like Da Vinci Code level things. And
Yeah.
um, I'm gonna start adding that into the repertoire as well, right? But okay, there's also showing some of my fear here, right? Emotions, whatever. Like one of my fears in doing that kind of stuff was, well, if I respond to people's things like that, sure, it'll be short, fast, quick content. Um, but then I don't want to give off the impression that I'm going after like low hanging fruit. That's like a fear in the back of my head. Um, if that makes sense to you guys, Tim, do you have anything to say?
No, dude, I mean, I love everything you're saying. It's like what people have to recognize is that I'll start off, I have like three main points. I'll start off
Yeah,
first,
please
which
go ahead.
is in the last 3 years, the way in which media in general, not just social media, but YouTube and how everything is going, has drastically changed. I would say in a way, in such a fast amount of time than anything we've really seen in recent times. The algorithms, not the same anymore. If you were to take someone who was making videos in 2018 and were to try to market their videos and you were to supplant them now in their time, they wouldn't succeed. It's different rules, different guidelines, what's allowed to be said, what's not allowed to be said, right? Especially since the nature of the content that Fan, you and I both make are religious in nature. And that already gets the controversial stamp, right, on that, especially since it's from a pro Christian side of things. And that's going to intersect with certain political ideologies involved in the background, but we don't need to get into that. Second thing is because the algorithms are so different, and because what short form the insurgence of short form content has done to those who make long term content is that there are people's channels who simply just won't grow anymore. And there are people's platforms who just don't grow anymore because that is how they founded them. That's how they grounded their main follower base. So there's that as well. The third thing is, it's a completely different position when this is what you have to do to provide for your family, when this is what you have to do for your livelihood. And at some point, you have to recognize that you can either turn this problem into a project and make it your biggest weapon and make it your best weapon, or you can due to things that you can't control, these external circumstances about the way that content is now being formed and fostered, you can sit back and let that pass you by. And so the idea here is there has to be a balance between bringing value like you've always done. But if I'm going to bring the value, if I'm going to exist at all, if I'm going to do anything worthwhile here, there has to be some sort of reciprocation. There has to be some sort of incentive that comes from it so I can keep doing this long term, or else burnout is inevitable. And like you said, sustainability is completely crushed, right? So you that's the whole point of it's this recognition of the times we live and where it's going and where it's not going anymore, and then taking that on completely and then rolling with that and making the best out of that so that I mean, to make what you're doing, right? Like I totally hear you. Like it's like, yeah, like doing this, I work so much so I can make this work, but it's like, what if I can fine tune? What if there's something that if I fine tuned it right now, it would change everything? Like, wouldn't we want to know about that? Like, wouldn't we want to do it? And that's exactly what I see. Like, is there something I need to eliminate, right? I need to expand upon, that's going to do this. And, Than and I recently talked about putting this live stream on together and doing this. And we both kind of came to the conclusion, like, we both have this fear of, well, we have our feet in two different circles. My feet is mainly in one circle. Actually, my feet is mainly like, I'm friends with apologists and all that stuff, but my feet has mainly been in the more academic side of things. And for me, like, when I recognized that this is what needs to be done, if this is going to be worthwhile, I was like, man, like, well, what, like it's kind of this out group mentality, which is like, well, what's going to happen to the social community? What's going to how is the social group going to receive this, right? And like you said, Dan, am I going to be just perceived as a salesman? Am I going to, just be perceived as like a Frank Turek type character, who's, I'm just going to do whatever it takes just to um, have this work out for me financially, right? Am I going to look like I am selling out and I am not being true to myself? Am I going to look inauthentic, right? All these different things kind of come through your head, but it's this recognition that, well, one, Dan and I both recognize, well, these are just limiting beliefs. These are just fears. There's a way to make this work. There's a way to not sacrifice value in doing what we're doing, but it has to come at the cost of keeping up with the times, right? There is a way to do this. There is a way to provide a lot of value, and we have a lot of thoughts on that. But it's this idea of, this is a new age, this is a new wave, and with AI, taking completely over automation, being able to make video scripts, audio, and all that stuff like that. Like, it's this idea of, with anything, how do we compete, right? How do we stay in? Because if apologetics is supposed to stay relevant and reach what the masses are being influenced by, well, then we need to be in those exact spheres too. And that's going to be everything. That's going to be length of content. That's going to be the type of content. That's going to be titles of content. That's going to be the look of the content. That's going to be the goal of the content, right? All that kind of stuff. So,
yeah. Whoops. From the chat too. Like, okay, so before this, I know you're probably not reading the chat, but what did I say? Where I said something somewhere. So like Joe just asked, like, hey, okay, well, if you did these kinds of things, like, does that mean more money and like views and stuff like that? And I would say yes, but my concern is how you guys feel about it, and if I'm doing the right thing. If I do that is all. Like, am I doing the ethical thing? Am I doing a virtuous thing? The way, if we go in a direction that we're talking about, right? Am I doing the virtuous thing if I go after low hanging fruit? And like, I mean, you call me an overthinker, but like, that's literally what we do for as an occupation, is we think really deeply about stuff. So, and Joe after that just says, like, yeah, I do. It does seem to give off a different vibe, but we know what your intentions are. And that answer is like part of the goal of this stream. I genuinely want to hear back from you guys, and like, it feels nice to have that reassurance that you guys at least know what our intentions would be when we do this. And it's not to be money grabbing, dishonest apologists. It's to, like, when I say I want to make an income off of what I'm doing, I just want to pay my bills. like that's all I want to do. I just want to give my kids a comfortable life. And by comfortable, I'm saying, like, they can have Culver's, if you guys know what that is, when they want it. Right. Like, I want to get my kids some Jimmy John's. Right. But you kind of get the point. Like, I just want to make a living. I want to pay the bills and like support my wife and kids. So yeah, that's really helpful to kind of like have that honest feedback from you guys. Christian James says, unfortunately, not a lot of financial security in rigorous and charitable content. Sensation sells, and sometimes it is give and take. And that's what Tim and I are here to figure out, right? We acknowledge the former part of that sentence, and we're trying to figure out what the latter part is. Where's the give and where's the take?
Right. And I want to say real quick, like, what we're not saying is we're going to do whatever we need to make sure that we just get views. That's not the goal. The goal isn't to just, if I have to do X, Y, and Z just to get views, then I'll do it. And then, like, and I'll add an apologetic spin to it. Like, that's not the purpose here. The purpose here is to recognize what the climate is and then to adapt accordingly. But what's unchanging is going to be the value that we've both provided every single time, right? And then that's
Yeah.
different. A lot of you guys in the comments here probably have never been in a sales position or know how marketing works, or have ever read a marketing book or like an advertising book in your entire life. And there's a lot more ways to get yourself out there and to make this work than just sensationalism. Yeah, that sells, but that's not the only way that it sells.
Yeah.
And so we're not going to be relying on that. But what we are saying is we aren't going to abandon and we're going to adapt. That's just how things are going to go.
Yeah.
We're going to adapt. And however that looks is going to be a learning process.
Yeah. Slamarian, are interviews with apologists something you may do? I do have some pull. Yeah, 100%. So if you mean by me going on somebody else's channel for an interview, I've done that a few times, but most of the people that invite me onto their channel are smaller channels. Like I've been on Meme Lord Monday, but that's not an apologist. But yeah, so I've been on other channels and stuff, and having other people on my channel as well. If like, I'm always down for that. I usually have philosophers on, but yeah. Maybe try to do more debates. It could bring more people to your channel, but it will take some time. Okay, so here's my thought. Because like, for one, I have an in-person debate on the Resurrection in Florida. I didn't seek out that debate. Somebody came to me about it. My issue with debates is the same issue I feel like I would have. The same like fear about debates is in my head as I have with like responding to low-hanging fruit. In the dialectical spheres that Tim and I operate in, like, debates are really boring to the average person. Like, at least the types of debates that Tim and I get into, because they're super charitable and they're super in depth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, if I was debating people, the types of people that we would actually bring an audience, like, I'm trying to phrase this in like a nice way, but like, it's not the kind of people that you would get a high level charitable debate with. Would it sell? Yeah. But again, I don't want to give off that impression of going after low hanging fruit or anything like that. So I'm still trying to figure, like, I'm totally open to this. So if you guys have thoughts on that, let me know. Because I'm totally open to debates. The question is, one, is it something that's going to provide value? Is it going to be something worth pursuing? Two, if the answer to that is yes, then the second question is like, okay, well, how do I go about that in such a way that it's like ethical and not seeming like I'm going after low hanging fruit or anything like that? Like, my first debate was with Mike Burgandy, and I hated doing that debate because you guys already know. So yeah, just let me know your thoughts. Tim, do you have any thoughts on that, or
On just debates?
Yeah, because like those do sell, right? Sell, but I feel like there's more nuance to topics of debate.
Yeah. So there's debates are good because everybody kind of wants to see, like, debates are good because it allows somebody who is not very oh no, that's not
See, exactly, but like, okay, look, this is a textbook example. Like, I would feel I would not feel good debating Aaron Ra. I would feel like I'm just taking it to sell something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Highlight this comment you just got from Christian James, because
This one?
I think that this comment demonstrates a misunderstanding of what we're saying. So I think this is a good comment, but I don't think this comment is actually is really apprehending what we're saying. So what we're saying is not everybody is like you. Not everybody is like me and Than. Than and I, we can watch long form academic content all day. Do you know how many views those videos usually have? I mean, I was just listening to a lecture while I was working the day on Saint Maximus's theology applied to evolutionary biology. Like nobody, like rarely many people listen to that stuff for fun.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that that Than is going to stop doing that. But what we're saying is that if Than merely just did this, his family would suffer. And two, this isn't the only way that Than can bring value. Like there's this limiting belief that's kind of circulating here that the only way in which an apologist can bring value is if he makes this long form and like really rigorous academic content. But that is a lack of creativity. That's a lack of imagination. Because what we're really honing in hard, I mean, let's use the critical thinking and philosophy presented on Than's channel for this situation right here. What is the actual thing that you guys keep coming back to? Value. There's value. What if you guys can get the same value packaged in a different way, in a more frequent way? So that's kind of like what it is. And it's not just kind of like, oh, I'm going to go seek out debates with certain individuals because I know that it's controversial and it's going to get me more views, but it's more so like what are going to bring, I mean, one of the biggest ways that the Unbelievable show has really brought people from different belief systems together is doing the big conversation. But that's not debate me bro culture at all. Had very like intellectual people on there doing stuff. So yeah.
And what he says here about pop level debates, like that's kind of how I feel about them. They're not really debates, they're just entertaining conversations with surface level disagreement. They'll sell, but do they really provide value? Other than entertainment value. John E Gaming. Okay, he's talking about my debate in Florida. Yes, it will be recorded. It won't be initially posted to my channel. I can't give too many details yet about all that stuff, but like I'll get the footage and it'll be posted on my channel. One sec. Could you explain more what you mean by sellout? Yeah, so like when I feel like I'm afraid of looking like a sellout, what I mean by that is like maybe the best way to explain it is like this. If this hypothetical character decided that I'm a sellout, what they're thinking is something like, man, Than used to make really high level content that I really appreciated. He still makes it, but now he started making low level content just so he can like make a few bucks, right? Like and that's kind of like what I'd be afraid of. And then like what Christian just said here too, like that's a fear of mine. If Than started doing pop level stuff and that was regularly uploaded, I would be tempted to turn off notifications and just occasionally check in for the good stuff. And I don't want you guys to feel like that. That's a fear of mine. So, and I know you are Christian. That's why I really appreciate what you're saying. Yeah. I'm trying to find like what Andy just said here. We're trying to find a balance. Like, what is the right balance of this kind of stuff? So, what do you got, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, what was I going to say? There's this, what people often notice, regardless of where their content goes, is that there always is this core base that's retained. And as their audience and channel and as their brand grows, they'll have this core base that stays. And then there'll be this big pool of people up top that come and they go and they come and they go and they come and they go. And usually what happens, I notice, is that people will be like, I I was here during the OG days, right? Like you'll have fans like that, like like a lot of people with William and Craig, for example. Like they'll say, "Oh, I was watching William and Craig on VHS tapes. So I was watching his debates on VHS tapes, and now look at what he's done with Reasonable Faith. They have a full blown podcast. They make reels. They make TikToks. He has written all these books, right? And these people are still like he still has that core base, and they understand where he came from. But look at how William Lane Craig's been able to benefit the entire world, and look at how many different places he has his feet in. He has his feet in all of philosophy, all of theology, historical studies, biblical studies, and now they're doing big different marketing shifts with their ministry as far as the online content goes. So it's just this idea of like, no matter what, there's going to be a core base that's retained throughout this entire time. And this flexibility is going to be able to impact more people.
Yeah.
So like you cater towards the core base, and then you're flexible enough to cater towards those who will stay with you as long as they need to for their journey.
Yeah.
So that's what it looks like for literally every. I don't know if you've seen that phenomenon, but I've seen that with every single successful person. There's the OG people, there's the OG fans, and then there's like the big audience that they have been able to impact later on with their brand. It always goes like that. At least for the people that you see that are successful, because how many people are we not seeing that are putting in the grind that aren't successful because they're not doing what is going to get them there, right? I mean, we only see the success with a lot of people. Like no one knew who Jordan Peterson was prior to 2016. No one saw all the effort he was putting into mastering all the literature and doing the lectures and all that stuff to get to where he's at now, it's just going to be like that for pretty much anybody. And it matters. My main concern, as far as like the ethical things, Than, is this consistent and in alignment with my meaningful mission I want to establish? And Than, like, if someone were to come up to you right now and be like, what is your meaningful mission with your ministry? Like, what would you tell them?
Oh, it's the same thing I've been saying for a very long time, which is just I want to affect our generation and the next generation to be powerful, intellectual, and virtuous disciples for Christ. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And I think the main question should be, then is this action I'm going to take, is that in alignment with what I'm doing? Because I think that's going to ultimately be how you are going to gauge whether or not you are selling out, right?
Yeah.
There are I think there's this really cool thing I remember, which is like givers recognize givers, and Than, you're a giver, right? And what happens to givers is that they're taken advantage of more often than takers and those who are in the middle. But the advantage of givers is that when a giver makes an impact on another giver, that relationship or that dynamic can actually skyrocket their success more so than not. And there are going to be people who just want to, who will look at you from a perspective not with your meaningful mission in view. And then there's people that are going to be, and it's those people that are going to skyrocket you to where you want to be. And I think that's just going to kind of be the reality of how these things are going to work regardless, right?
So Johnny Gaming says, like, well, does anyone fault Michael Jones for it? And that's like, Mike goes after some of the low-hanging fruit now. And a lot of people do. Mike's just okay with it, and he probably just doesn't see it because he's so big that he just doesn't see it or whatever. Do a ton of sports or sign, yeah. So the Mike Jones model, and that's kind of some of the stuff I'm considering doing. So like, I think one of the things that might be helpful is if you guys want stuff like that, um, try to just send that stuff to me. You can email me the link or DM it to me on on TikTok or Instagram as well. Same thing with Tim. If you want to start doing that kind of stuff, like send it over to him, because that's like, here's one thing you need to know about me. I am not on social media. The only time I'm on YouTube is if I'm gonna listen to like a lecture or something like that. Most of the time I'm reading something, or talking to doubters. Most of the time I'm just working. So if you guys can help me by sending me stuff that's like worthy of response, or you think would be beneficial response, and the same thing for Tim, I think that'd be very helpful for both of us. And Joe Malik says, perhaps keep the content balanced, like Andy was saying, but I personally think it would be ethical to post the content that attracts a larger audience and continue to create the academic kind of stuff. So like, I actually kind of think about this a lot, and then he follows it up. Sort of like posting bite-sized content to bring them in larger academic things later on. And that's kind of like what I told you on our phone call Saturday. Yeah.
I 100% agree
I
with
told
that.
you. I told you, like, the model in my head so far is like, if I do this kind of stuff, if I do the response videos, the pop level stuff, what's going to happen eventually is enough people are going to come and they'll think, okay, well, there's this 60-second clip and I really liked what he said here. Or maybe I didn't like what he said here and I just want to see what else he has to say. But then you see like this 30-minute clip. Next thing you know, they're hearing either like a dense philosophical defense of Christian theism or a linguistic argument, like I did with my Jonah video, whatever it might be, right? So that's kind of like what I'm thinking too, is can this bring in and funnel in more people to the academic stuff that I do, that most of you guys channel for?
I think that's the right way to think. That was kind of what I was trying to articulate when I said you have the core and then you have the flexibility to bring the core or cater to the core to people who are going to need you for where they're at. I see that all the time. Like that's a perfect way, because what's going to happen, right, is I remember when I remember in 2015, I was first looking at cosmological arguments, like for the very first time, like didn't know they existed. I'm 24 now, just to give people some context. And I was on YouTube and I would see Dr. Craig videos. Remember Dr. Craig videos, those like 1-minute clips of like Craig, right? And
I remember my William Lane Craig stand phase.
Bro, Dr. Craig videos on just simple objections, like
the virtual
God's
particles
relationship to time. Yeah, virtual particles. Is quantum mechanics illogical? Like who created God? Like I would binge these Dr. Craig videos. I didn't even know that Craig was a PhD theologian and philosopher at the time. And I didn't know that he had all this academic work. And then guess what happened to me? I found it, right?
Yeah.
But it's because I found those short Dr. Craig videos for what I needed at the time to get me there.
Yeah.
Right. And so like what you're saying is like completely compatible with that. It's like he was able to provide value, and then he was able to bring those into what he's doing now. Did you know that Reasonable Faith dropped a course? Like an online course?
Well, they have the Defenders class, but
it's called Equip. They dropped an online course that you can buy that's called Equip. Dude, everybody's dropping a course for what they do. They're keeping up with the new wave, right? But William Lane Craig is still an academic. He's still got his feet in two different places. And so I think that a lot of this content that really soothes the algorithm will allow people to also progress in such a way, because a part of your meaningful mission is like to create these confident disciples, these leaders. They're going to have to grow, and you're going to provide them with their next steps along the journey. They started here. Now where's phase 2? Where's phase 3? Where's phase 4? And here's one thing about people like, if anybody is in the self-development realm, then you'll really understand what I'm saying. But why is someone like Jordan Peterson's 12 rules for life and Jordan Peterson shorts, why are they so popular? Why did his books sell so well when he's not really saying anything that you couldn't really synthesize if you read 5 books on the topic, right? And the reason why is because he's able to synthesize it well for paradigm one, right? Jordan
Mhm.
Peterson is the man that you listen to when you're depressed and you can barely make yourself a meal in the morning because you're just so depressed and you can't think so well, right? Like that's his audience. Like that was his main audience. It was like, okay, like I've never really were taken responsibility for my life. How do I do that? But that is the majority of people. And then there's Jordan Peterson for those who have transcended that paradigm, right? Who are in the higher paradigms of self-development. So that it's like that for every single person. But
Mhm.
the sticking point for so many, like David Goggins, right? David Goggins, like he's just a guy who runs and tells you to like to lean in the pain,
Yeah.
right? But he brings value in such a way to do it. So like there's nothing saying that you can't do something very similar in this situation while retaining your authenticity to your meaningful mission. Um, but there's always going to be a paradigm one that people start at that they're going to have to someone down here is going to fulfill that. I mean, let's look at a good example, right? Lee Strobel, dude. Lee Strobel is more known than William Lane Craig.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's all I need to say. Like that's all I need to say, right? Like because most people are in that paradigm. Like that's just the case. Like and now it's like, do we want people to stay there or do we want people to progress? And who are the people who are going to fill that gap? It's going to be people like Dan
Well,
and
yeah, and
Monica as
that's
well.
that's kind of like the place that we're trying to position ourselves, right? Like we're trying to be the bridge from the pop level to the scholars, right? And I think, yeah, so I think this has been a really like this stream, just so you guys know, like it's um I'm still gathering data, right? Right? Like I'm looking at your guys' comments and I'm taking everything in and like assessing and all this other stuff. And um yeah, so like
I'm not sure who Strobel is, honestly.
I just saw that. Yeah. And that's really funny to me. That's really funny to me because like for me, I started with like when I started getting into you guys already know my testimony and kind of how I came to Christ and everything, but like when I started looking at all this stuff, like I saw that first and then I got to the academic stuff. Um so like stuff like this, maybe responded to some of Tobias Singer's stuff. He's medium hanging. Like, just keep sending me stuff like that. Like, shoot me an email or DM me on Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is. Like, I try to make myself as accessible as possible. If there's other ways that you guys can like send me stuff, or Tim stuff to respond to, or like just even if it's like a simple little topic, like that you think would be a good short video to make, like let us know. Let me show you guys something else here, I guess. Yeah, Danny says, in terms of how people succeed in this sphere of content, it almost seems random. And I actually kind of agree with that. I think the people that do succeed, it does seem random. There are a few things that I think that are consistent with people that are successful in these spheres. One of those things is consistency. And the other thing is like good branding and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Um,
I was gonna say there are some non-negotiables. But if you're not very aware, I don't even mean this in a condescending way. And then you know what I mean by this, but like if you're not really aware of like how branding and like how marketing and like works, like where you just have an eye for it, where you see it every single time, then it's gonna kind of look mainly random. To me, it doesn't look random anymore, honestly.
Yeah. Shannon Q's in here. What's up, Shannon? Thanks for stopping by. You didn't really miss anything too crazy. Tim and I are just kind of talking about how we've been feeling a little discouraged because, like, when you're trying to do charitable, like, high level work, it doesn't sell that well, and we're just kind of talking to people to kind of get their feelings on if we incorporated different types of videos into our repertoire. Like that's the summation, I guess, of what we're talking about. But thanks for stopping in. I want to show you guys one thing quick. So, like, here's something I worked on the other day, and it's just a list of video ideas. So, like, an upcoming videos. These are all long form videos I have planned, and series I have plans. These are all short form videos that I have planned.
Oh my
They're
gosh.
in the pipeline. This is more short form videos that I have planned in the pipeline.
Gosh,
right? So, like, but the thing is, a lot of these short form ones are going to be like they're not
crazy.
super in depth. They're not going to be super academic. So yeah, like, there's a lot of stuff coming. There's a lot of stuff in the pipeline. There's a lot of stuff I want to talk about. Like, when I'm done with my Mark and the Chaos Dragon series, one of the videos I'm talking about, and it's going to upset some Christians. I don't know why I would, but I'm anticipating it will. Is I'm going to talk about why I think Genesis 3:16 is not translated properly.
That's
why I think. Yeah, like I think when I read Genesis 3:16 and I look at it in Hebrew, it has nothing to do with childbirth being painful. So we'll see what happens. But, like, that's gonna be so. What I think about doing with that is I'm gonna do an academic linguistic look at the stuff, but then I'll make like a pop level short form video of it. So I just wanted to show you guys, like, I have almost 500 short form videos planned, and then on top of that I have about 30 different long form videos / series planned. So yeah. Shannon says, I can feel that. Do what you're passionate about. I enjoy the channel, and I really appreciate that. That means a lot coming from you. Thank you. Danny says, I thought the channel Friction would be an instant hit, but it's sort of revealing just how disinterested people are. Dude, exactly. But that's the whole thing. I don't know if you ever heard of the channel Friction, Tim, but
yeah, I have.
Like,
I know exactly what you're
like
saying, man.
I love that channel. I love listening to that. Like, before I had my health issues and I could work out, like, I would listen to that sometimes while I'm benching or deadlifting and stuff. Like, I love that stuff. But yeah, it's just most people are just disinterested in that. Most people want to see people at each other's throats or in the sensational stuff, right? Like the sexy stuff. And then you have people like me and Tim who are just like, no, I love my atheist friends. Like, let's talk about this,
real.
right? And it doesn't sell. So it's like, how do I show people that I love you, Danny, and show people that I can disagree with you, and you and I can still be friends at the end of the day, and have that sell just as much as the stuff that is, like, butting each other's heads and calling you the dishonest, crappy atheist that hates God and just wants to do hard drugs.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
like, how do we sell that just as much? That's a question.
Just do hard drugs. That was perfect. I haven't heard that one.
Feeling the YouTube algorithm is massively discouraging if you care about your ethic and passion. Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah. Tim and I have been feeling that. Just put titles like Fauci was right all along.
Yeah. For real.
Yeah, I like the sexy stuff. I'm lucky that it sells just a bit better on average. I was always a diva, so I don't see myself as selling out. No, I think you do it just fine. So have a nice evening, everyone. All right, man, I'll catch you later. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys coming on. I don't think there's too much more to say. I think if you have ideas, if you have thoughts, and I do really like, I'm not. This isn't like me just trying to push you guys to my most recent video to boost their algorithm. I swear.
You know,
But like,
you guys all should really just go like it and leave a comment or something.
yeah, smash that like button, hit the notification. But no, like,
I mean,
go watch that new. Just go watch my most recent video. It's only like 6 minutes long. I just want to know,
I
like, I
don't-
genuinely do want to know, how did you feel watching that? Because it's not high level content. It's not. It's like basic stuff that um like the guy. If you guys are watching my channel and you love the stuff that I do, you already know this. So just let me know how, like, when you're I would and I'm serious, like, I don't want to know what you think about the video. Like, I don't want you to come up to me and be like, yeah, Than, I agreed with everything you said. I want to know how you felt about the video. So yeah. Jim, do you have anything else to say before kind of call it a night? My voice is starting to give out.
Yeah. No, I think that if there's anything anybody's going to take away from what Than and I are doing, um, and what I'm going to be doing, is there's going to be change, but you're still going to have Than, and you're still going to have. I don't know if you guys are even subscribed to my channel, but if you guys are, then you're still going to have.
I think it's safe to assume that if they know who I am, they know who you are, because I bring you up a lot. And you and I kind of occupy the same spheres. If you are not subscribed to Tim, I will delete my channel.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Like, you got access to the nuke codes and stuff. You're like, I'm pressing right now. You don't do it. But like, nah. But like, change is happening, but it's not going to be the kind of change where you go, man, remember when exploring reality was good? Like, it's not going to be like that.
And here's the thing: if it starts heading in that direction, I don't want you guys to just leave. I want you guys to actually express that you're feeling like that, because that's valuable. That's valuable information for me, because I really do care. Like, if Tim and I make these moves, and let's just say 6 months from now we're at like 20K subs, right? I don't know how I would feel if that 20K subs came at the cost of, like, losing you guys who have been here from the very beginning. Like, I'm not trying to be super sentimental and like whatever here, but like that really matters to me. Like, so just keep me in the loop. Keep Tim and I in the loop. Like, if you do end up feeling like, man, remember when they were good, let us know. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that that is an amazing position that your core fan base, because you have that, can do for you. And so it's not going to be like, oh, I'm going to hide comments if I don't see anything just, supremely positive. So I think that's really good. Utilizing your viewers to help you, to steer you in the direction that they want. That's your demand. That is your demand, and we should listen to the demand. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I really appreciate you guys coming on and talking to us about it. I'm optimistic. Okay, let me put it this way. I'm scared about these changes. I really am. I am a little scared about them. But I'm also feeling a little optimistic. Like, I feel like there's a learning curve as to how to do this for me, and probably Tim. But I feel like once we get past that learning curve and get in a rhythm, I feel like it will attract a wider audience, and I feel like it's going to bring in a lot of people who will be exposed to the higher level stuff. And for that, I'm feeling really optimistic. And I'm also feeling optimistic, kind of, about being able to grow a wide enough audience that either through ad revenue or through Patreon support or whatever it might be, that I can actually take a step back, and instead of doing my like last week I logged about 65 hours, and that was a low week, like a short work week for
Wow.
me. Um, between exploring reality and everything else that I do. And so, like, one of the things I'm feeling optimistic about is just if I can bring in on a wider audience, I'm hoping that enough monetary gain can come back that I won't have to do that anymore. Because yeah, I mean, I just I I I like working, I really do, but I like doing exploring reality work the most. Um, so I'm really feeling optimistic about that, and I'm really thankful to have you guys here invested. I mean, I can't I don't know how many people have an on average 13 to 20 viewers that are going to come into a stream like this and talk about something like this with the people that they watch. Like I consider myself very blessed and very lucky to have that. So, yeah, I'm just feeling really optimistic and blessed for that.
It's awesome, dude.
Cool. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Again, just let us know if you have any questions, concerns, and again, send us stuff to respond to if you want us to respond to something. Timmy, you got anything else before I hit the end stream button?
Yeah. Only thing I'm gonna say is, guys, what is happening. This is good. We have your best interest in mind, and that is what we're going to, in the best way possible, cater towards the growing pains of figuring out how to develop this further. So I would say I just want to leave on an optimistic note, and just to make that completely clear. And yeah, like this is really cool. Excited for the future. Excited to see what's happening. And I'm hopeful. There's a lot of unknown, but this is going to be. I'm excited. Let's all get pumped, right? Let's all get pumped for what's happening. So the new wave is here, and let's all go with the flow, right, together, and make the most meaning out of it.
My wife is just in the comments trolling right now. All right, guys. I'll catch y'all later. Thank you again. Good night.